You sit down to work. Your cat jumps onto your keyboard.
Hey, not again.
You move it away. It comes back immediately. You close the door. It scratches without stopping. At night, you finally fall asleep. At 3 in the morning, it starts again. Meowing. Moving. Knocking things over. You feed it. It stops. The next day, it happens earlier. This is not random. This is a learned pattern. Your cat is repeating what works. Every time you respond, the pattern becomes stronger. Researchers recently tested a simple change. They adjusted one variable. The result was clear. Attention-seeking behavior dropped. Night disturbances decreased. No punishment. No special devices. Only a change in feeding structure. If your cat keeps interrupting your life, this is the mechanism behind it, and this is how to change it. Your cat is not acting randomly. It is adjusting based on results. The behavior looks unpredictable. The underlying structure is stable. Your cat sends signals. It makes sound. It moves into your space. It interrupts what you are doing. You respond. You look at it. You speak to it. You move it. You feed it. Your response creates a result. If the result is useful to the cat, the behavior repeats. If it repeats enough times, it becomes consistent. Once it is consistent, it becomes persistent. Many owners do not notice this loop forming. They respond sometimes, ignore it other times. This inconsistency does not weaken the behavior. It strengthens it. When outcomes are unpredictable, the behavior becomes more persistent and harder to stop. Your cat is not confused. It is adapting to your responses. In 2026, researchers conducted a randomized, controlled trial to test whether feeding structure could change attention-seeking behavior in domestic cats. They selected household cats with clear patterns of disruption. These included frequent vocalization, nighttime activity, and repeated interruption of human tasks. The cats were divided into 2 groups. One group continued their normal feeding routine. The other group followed a structured feeding protocol based on 3 elements. The first element was predictable timing. Feeding times were fixed within a narrow and consistent window. Food was not given earlier, even if the cat initiated behavior. The second element was pre-feeding activity. Before receiving food, each cat was engaged in movement or play. This included chasing, interactive toys, and directed motion. The third element was delayed feeding. Food was not delivered immediately after the cat approached or vocalized. The timing was controlled by the human, not by the cat's behavior. Over several weeks, researchers tracked changes in behavior. They measured how often the cats sought attention. They recorded nighttime disturbances. They observed intensity of vocalization and interaction patterns with humans. The results were consistent. Cats in the structured feeding group showed a clear reduction in disruptive behavior. Nighttime activity decreased. Interruptions during human tasks decreased. The cats became more stable in their daily patterns. No punishment was used. No aversive methods were introduced. Only structure was changed. There are several mechanisms involved. The first is the energy cycle. Domestic cats retain the hunting sequence of their wild ancestors. They are designed to move, engage, capture, and then consume. When feeding happens without activity, this sequence is incomplete. The unused energy does not disappear. It is redirected into the environment. Often that means interacting with you. The second mechanism is reward timing. When food is delivered immediately after a behavior, the association becomes strong. The cat learns that its action produces a direct outcome. When there is a delay, that association weakens. Control shifts away from the behavior itself. The third mechanism is predictability. When feeding times vary, the cat increases monitoring behavior. It checks more often. It vocalizes more. It tries more actions to trigger a response. When feeding becomes consistent, this monitoring decreases. The environment becomes stable. The fourth mechanism is anticipation. The expectation of food activates internal reward systems. When feeding includes a sequence with effort and delay, the anticipation phase increases. This leads to more controlled behavior and less compulsive interruption. Most people focus on the moment, not the pattern. A cat makes noise. They assume it needs food. A cat interrupts. They assume it wants attention. They respond immediately. This creates a very tight loop between behavior and outcome. The cat learns quickly because the timing is clear. Another common pattern is inconsistent feeding times. Feeding depends on human schedules. Morning feeding changes depending on when you wake up. Evening feeding changes depending on when you return home. From the cat's perspective, there is no reliable system. The only consistent factor is its own behavior, so it increases the frequency and intensity of that behavior. Another mistake is using food to stop noise. When the cat makes noise and food follows soon after, the connection becomes strong. The cat learns that starting the noise leads to food. The behavior is reinforced, not reduced. The method is simple. Execution needs to be consistent. Start by setting fixed feeding times. Choose 2 or 3 times per day. Keep them stable within a small range. Do not move feeding earlier based on your cat's behavior. Before each feeding, engage your cat in structured activity for around 10 minutes. Use movement patterns that trigger chasing behavior. Short bursts of motion. Changes in direction. Pauses followed by movement. After the activity ends, wait briefly before feeding. Do not feed during peak excitement. Allow your cat to settle slightly, then provide food. Avoid feeding in response to vocalization or interruption. If the behavior occurs outside feeding times, do not engage with it. Even small responses can reinforce the behavior. Maintain consistency over multiple days. At first, the behavior may increase. This is a normal response when a learned pattern stops working. If you give in during this phase, the behavior becomes stronger. Stay consistent until the pattern weakens. As the system stabilizes, you will see changes. Nighttime disturbances decrease. Vocalization becomes less frequent. Interruptions during work become less persistent. Your cat's daily rhythm becomes more predictable. The behavior is not suppressed, it is reorganized. Energy is directed into structured activity instead of random interruption. The environment becomes stable for both you and your cat. Your cat is not trying to make your life difficult. It is repeating a pattern that produces results. When the structure changes, the pattern changes. The experiment showed that small adjustments can create measurable differences. No force is required. Only control of timing, sequence, and consistency. That is the system your cat follows. Now you can control it.
Understanding animals isn't about romance. It's about evidence and instinct.